Hi, everyone. Just me checking in here to give a little bit of a review on Katy Perry's new heartfelt ballad, Never Worn White. KP5 has sort of been floating in this liminal limbo space for a year, almost a year now. We're Never Really Over came out last spring, and so since then we've gotten about now four singles, I believe. And the narrative last year was that Katy was like, yeah, I'm working on new music and like maybe it'll be an album, but I'm only going to put it out if people actually really want it or if the reception is right. Because a lot of people were kind of putting words in her mouth, basically saying she was like, well, I don't want this to flop because, you guys don't deserve another album from me because, you didn't appreciate Witness like you should have. And I think people are putting words in her mouth a little bit there. I don't think she's that egotistical and conceited about it. I just think that she was just sort of not wanting to constrain herself in the creative process of thinking like these 10 songs are going to be part of an album, like that's going to come out in like 5 months. Like she was just not wanting to think in that headspace. She just wanted to create. However, I do, the fact that, she's starting to talk about KP5 and like there's some buzz around possibly an album coming out this summer. I think that Katy is gearing up to actually release her fifth studio album this year. I think there's like a pretty good certainty of that. And I think the window for that is probably going to be sometime in like between June at the earliest and probably like October at the latest. So sometime in that window. Most likely a summer release. And I'm assuming all of these songs that she's been releasing, Never Really Over, Small Talk, which I didn't really like Small Talk. Harley's in Hawaii, which I actually never talked about on this channel. That's a cute, fun song. It's very Prism era, very bubblegum, but it's cute. I enjoyed that song for what it was, but it was nothing special. And then now Never Worn White, which has a real gravitas to it. And that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going to sit down and just, give my thoughts on this track because I was very emotionally moved by it. Now, of course, the big announcement is that she is expecting and that, her fiance, Orlando Bloom, talk about a Hollywood couple that I am just rooting for to the ends of the earth. Katy and Orlando have been going steady and, they are engaged. And now they're having a child together. And I mean, I couldn't be more happy. Katy's like 36 years old now. So like, I think it's a great time for her to be finally coming to this. There's just this sense of completion that you can hear, this sense of fulfillment that oozes through that song. I mean, it's just such powerful chords and such powerful notes. And the lyrics, thank God that someone came to answer my mother's prayer. And then thank God someone came to answer your father's prayer. Like we came together to, there's a little bit of like if you read into it too much, you might be like, oh my God, this is why single people are constantly like, I need to marry, especially if you're approaching 30 or above, because you're thinking, I need to do this for my family. And she even mentions, hopefully in 60 years with a successful family tree. And I'm like, boy, girl, that's definitely asking for a lot. And I got to be honest, when it comes to me, I am, I would love to get married and I would love to be happy, but as far as children and as far as a successful family tree and being alive 60 years from now, that's a lot to ask for. Like maybe we're reaching a little too high, but of course there's nothing wrong with, in that moment kind of swelling all those positive emotions and expressing that. So, this song just oozes that, this like cautious optimism about something finally really working for once. And hearing, a seasoned performer like Katy, she's been through the ringer with love. It's kind of funny. She says she's never worn white, which is a little ironic because in the music video, she's predominantly dressed in a white gown. But keep in mind, when people say worn white, they're not necessarily talking about just something that's that color. They're talking about the whole veil and the whole train, the wedding dress, that sort of thing. But what's kind of interesting is I actually thought, and please forgive me, I don't follow Katy Perry religiously. I actually thought that she had married Russell Brand back in like 2009. So I am obviously way off there because I don't know why I assumed that, when they had that huge breakup with Russell, I thought that was a divorce. Am I completely wrong in thinking that? But there was, I saw the Katy Perry part of me that really cheesy movie that was in theaters. I saw that with friends in 3D, by the way. Yeah, I don't know why. Back in 2012, and it talked about the big breakup. And I remember I thought it was a divorce. Just like she was married to Russell Brand. Am I crazy or am I just making things up? Was she not actually married? So anyway, I mean, I'll find that out right as soon as I finish filming this, but it just popped into my head. So I was like, you've never worn white, Katy? I thought you'd been married before. But then I was like, well, maybe they didn't have like a big fancy wedding. Yes, but anyway. Russell Brand, that was like a huge public breakup though. Like that was like a serious relationship that fell apart and it really broke her. And so all of that aside, it's been a long journey for her to coming to love. And of course, now having the child, a lot of people, I saw this really funny meme on Twitter because as you know, Grimes is one of the other big music celebrities that's pregnant right now. And it's a picture of two babies and it's like Grimes and Katy Perry's kid having a play date. I mean, it made me laugh. Okay. Made me laugh. Yeah, it's very, let's just say that Katy Perry is the pop star I expected to have a child right now. Grimes? No, I did not see that coming, universe. That's a bit of a left field one, but Katy Perry being pregnant, it's like, yes, it's her time. Like I so see this happening for her and I'm so excited for her to settle down a little bit and to just find that happiness there. A lot of people, by the way, I saw someone on Twitter saying she's confirmed that there will not be a tour for the 5th studio album, and they're complaining, and I'm like, no wonder she's going to have a child. People really need to understand that some of these pop stars do quite a lot while pumping out babies. And, it's a lot of work and exhausting. And, you have to take care of your health and you have to take care of your marriage. You have to take care of your relationship. You have to take care of a lot of stuff. So Katy probably will go on tour again. Do not worry, Katy Perry fans. But you should be glad that she's actually releasing a 5th studio album at all, because that's the thing that I wasn't even sure was going to happen. I knew she would eventually release another album, but I just thought it might be another year or two because I thought that she was just really kind of in this headspace of like, I just don't really feel the need to put out an album because, my last one didn't do so well. Why put that pressure on it? Now, as you know, I'm such a huge album person, so I really, really don't like necessarily seeing homeless singles, as I like to call them, with no sort of cohesion. But at the same time, I have to be understanding that, like, as an artist myself, as someone who creates content, like paintings and such, I have to understand that when I try and think in the headspace of like, these paintings are going to be for this cohesive project, and this cohesive project needs to be finished by this date, it makes the whole creative process so stifling. And as much as I like keep saying, I want an album, or I want to make a series that's cohesive for my own work, I have to step back and realize that it's not always healthiest for your creativity to think in those sort of forms of thinking in terms of like, whatever I'm painting has to be a part of this project. And I have to plan so far in advance what it's going to look like. When in reality, a lot of times things change and, you decide you want to change everything about the concept. And there's something freeing about not labeling this as an album that's coming on this date. A lot of artists have, pushed back albums for years because they realized that they weren't actually ready for it. They didn't have the material they felt happy enough with. They just felt like they were pressured by their label because, it's been 3 years since I released an album. I got to release something. And, I do think sometimes artists are almost too cautious about releasing new music because they're just like perfectionists to a degree that I think, it's like there's always going to be another album. Just put out what you've made. And then move on. But there also are a lot of cases where it's like, no, they don't think the material's there, or they just, they want to put out singles and test the waters. And like I said, I do think all 4 of these singles will be on KP5. I don't see why they wouldn't be. I mean, it's only 4 songs. The album could be like 15, there's a lot of stuff that she's probably worked on. But I do predict the album will come this year. And like I said, I predict it'll be sometime between like June and October. And so I'm really here for it. As far as Never Really Over the song is concerned, I mean, I kind of already touched on it. Really powerful power ballad for her. I honestly think it's probably one of my favorite Katy Perry ballads. I mean, Thinking About You is always like one of my all-time faves for her. But honestly, when it comes to ballads for her, I think they always were a little bit, I don't want to say hollow sounding, but like they were simplistic enough that I just didn't really feel like, yeah, it's a nice sentiment what she's expressing, and I appreciate that. But there's an extra power and gravity to this song the notes she hits, the turn of the note, the powerful piano chords that match the keys of her voice so delicately and powerfully at the same time. There's just, and I mean, the lyrical content, it's very earnest and deep and sincere for someone who's, I mean, really feeling what true love could mean, what love can blossom to be, and being in this state and place in your life where it's scary and it's kind of shocking. You're just like all of these questions, and if you think about it too much, you're going to probably self-sabotage. But letting out that emotion and really kind of expressing, how trepidatious you are about this whole process, but how strongly you feel about that one person that you've been with, that you see it working with, and you're saying in the bravest way that I'm going to get married for you. I don't want to get married multiple times. I only want to do it once if I can, but I understand how life works. And I feel and I trust you enough to take this big scary step with you. And it's a beautiful step, but it is scary. And so I just see so much celebration of love and romance. And I think it reminds me a little bit also of Not Like the Movies. It's sort of like the answer to that song 10 years later. If you remember in Not Like the Movies, she's singing about how a romance in the movies is possibly never going to happen for her. Like that just is a fairy tale. And now she kind of is getting her fairy tale romance 10 years later. And it made me well up a little bit. Like, that's just so emotional. And there's just really classic Katy Perry vocals here. Like, just really, I mean, she really isn't a bad vocalist. I really feel like I knock her for her vocals sometimes. But I think she could really deliver this song live beautifully. And yeah, I'm all for it. It's one of my favorite Katy Perry songs of recent years. I'm floored by this one. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on this beautiful track, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'm very excited to see. I heard someone say that this album is going to be around mental health. That's sort of like not the entire theme, but that's like a big through line through a lot of the songs on this record, which if you look at some of the songs like Never Really Over and things, I kind of see that being what this, it's about seeing the sunnier side, the optimistic side of things, and overcoming the darkness. So I'm really all for that. I mean, Prism was kind of that a little bit too, but I think I've always just kind of wanted Prism 2.0 from Katy Perry. I think a lot of us have. So, it does seem like that's kind of what we're getting a little bit. But who knows? So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more content. I will see you all in my next video. Just wanted to share my thoughts on this beautiful track. Peace, love, and light.